YouTube, I'm back. Just to straighten something out really quick. Cold air intakes versus air intakes versus ram air intakes versus hot air intakes, which is what a majority of people have, is hot air intakes, which is a standard stock intake. Not to be confused with intake manifold, but the actual portion that goes from your throttle body, your carburetor, your throttle body injection system, or just your butterfly. In the case of turbos, it's just the butterfly. It's the portion going from your air filter, including the air filter, all the way to that piece, to your throttle body, to your turbo, so on and so forth. That actually makes a big difference in how your vehicle performs, how your vehicle runs, and gas mileage. I don't have any definitive numbers to hand you guys over. Do your own research. I'm not an encyclopedia. I'm just a man. But what I can tell you is that 95% of CAIs, or cold air intakes I see, aren't actually cold air. They are under the hood of the vehicle still. In fact, most of the air filters are sitting right next to the headers or the exhaust manifold or right behind the radiator. And I don't know if you've touched your radiator when it's running or when your car's been running for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Your radiator is hotter than hell. So I don't know what makes you think that the air coming behind your radiator, through the front of your car, through your radiator, and to your air intake is cold, because it is not. That is hotter than hell air. Same thing with keeping an air filter element, an open air, like what I've got on my truck, is under the hood. I have a hot air intake. I'm going to fix that. I've got to put some 90s in and run the air filter down to the front air dam on the front bumper so that I'm actually drawing air from the outside of the vehicle, which is probably 40 or 50 degrees cooler at a minimum when your vehicle is running at optimal temp than the air that's under the hood of your car. You can argue with me all you want. I tell you to go touch that intake tube after you've run it all day or you've gone out racing and see how cold that intake really is, or see how cold it is under the hood of your car. When you pop the hood on your car, even on a cold day, it's nice and toasty. That air that circulates in there is just as toasty. So you're better off keeping the stock system if you're not going to run it through an air dam. The stock system normally draws air from outside of the vehicle through in between body panels. On Honda Civics, most of them draw air from around the headlight area, in between the quarter panel and the bumper. They draw the air in between there, which is a lot cooler than the air under the hood. So swapping that out for a bigger intake that just draws hot air negates the fact that you got a bigger intake. Because I would agree, a bigger intake makes a big difference. More air in, more air out, better combustion ratios, better fuel, better AFRs. You're definitely more air, more fuel, more power. Power is good. Power is really good. But you can't get more power if you're shoving 150 degree air into that intake and you had 90 degree going into it before. It's going to negate anything you do past that. And with the cold air intake, if you do the intake, do the exhaust. Having it breathe open on one side and restricted on the other creates a lot of back pressure on the engine and will reduce your efficiency. Also, more air. If you throw on a set of long tube headers or a set of bigger headers and you go a bigger exhaust, you're getting more air out of the front end. You're going to have other issues come to light without tunes. Just because you've put a bigger exhaust on it and a bigger intake on it, bigger air intake on it. If your intake manifold isn't matching that kind of flow, if your air filter is rated at 7,000 CFM, but your manifold's only rated at 4,500 CFM, you're hurting your engine efficiency. It's trying to draw in all that air, but you're ending up with back pressure right at that choke point. Also, exhaust only makes a difference if it is the same size from the headers all the way back. If you start off at 2.5 inch on the headers, and by the time you get to your muffler, you're down to 1.5 inches, it hasn't done you any good. You're creating that back pressure, and it's just like running 1.5 inches all the way to the headers. So cat back exhausts. That's another one of those things. You're running inch and a quarter, 1.5 inches off the headers back, and you assume that you're going to get more horsepower by doing a cat back. It doesn't help. You haven't increased the flow from the headers all the way through. You need to do headers instead of keeping that stock manifold. Get yourself some headers, get yourself a new cat, be it a pass-through, which is illegal in most states, disclaimer, or a fake cat, which is also illegal in most states, but the DMV can't figure it out because they're idiots. But make sure it's open all the way through, from the engine all the way to that muffler tip. Don't care what kind of tip you got. If you throw a fart can on it, don't matter. Glass pack, MagnaFlows. It's got to be a consistent size all the way through, or you're creating choke points. It doesn't do you any good. It'd be like going down and buying a huge 1-inch diameter straw, but on the end of that straw that goes in the cup, you've got a normal size straw that goes into the fluid. The 1-inch straw you would think would help you, but the fact that it goes down to a 1/4 inch in the cup, you're not going to get any more fluid out of it. You're going to create more pressure down there at the bottom, and it's going to hurt your efficiency overall. So do yourself a favor and either do a true cold air or leave the stock box on. In my case, I didn't have a stock box, so I'm running a hot air intake. I plan on changing that once the cage gets put in the death trap, and actually running it down to the front air dams. But past that, if you guys have any questions, hit me up, make some comments, rip on me. I love haters. It's fun putting them down. It's fun listening to people. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the difference among intakes and any kind of difference in power you're going to have. Oh, one more thing. Sorry about the cigarettes. I know it's unhealthy. I just quit smoking pot. I'm working on this next. You're gonna have, with an open exhaust, more air, more fuel. You're gonna get more high-end power. Letting that engine flow makes a big difference at higher RPMs than it does at low RPMs. You want low-end torque. You're gonna want to keep some back pressure on the exhaust side to help build it, so to speak, as boost, but it's not really. It's creating a sort of boost with back pressure to help the torque on the low end of the engine get you off the line. I'm not worried about that. I'm going into drifting. My 318 has a little bit of power on the low end, but from about 2,500 RPM on, she rips. And that's what I want, is I want that high-end, high RPM power out of my V8. I love it. Other than that, yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me. This is the Death Trap Drift build, and Crash the Mechanic, just trying to help you guys out, answer some really simple questions. If you have any more, feel free to ask. If I can't answer them, I have a 5-star gold certified mechanic uncle, who's one of the only ones in the state of Arizona certified to work on Porsches, Lambos, so on and so forth, and I can get him to answer the questions for you too. So have a good weekend, y'all, and enjoy the video.